eat this.
Welcome to Good Morning Football. Time for Top 5 Friday, presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Here are some fantasy values. My top 5 for Week 11. Now remember, the Packers, Aaron Jones, Aaron Rodgers, the Seahawks, Russell Wilson, and company, the Giants, the Titans, all off this week. No Derek Henry.
No.
El Tractorcito.
We're bleeding, Kay. Come on.
What do you do? Here's some options to plug and play. Kyle Allen, okay? Coming off his first 300-yard game of his career in the conditions of the snow globe. That was Lambeau Field last week. He's the perfect remedy for top quarterbacks on a bye. I know they bottled up, bottled up Drew Brees, right?
Sure.
In like the weirdest game in NFL history, according to me. But the Falcons are among the top 5 most generous to quarterbacks, giving up 19 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions on the year. So he's a nice play against the Falcons. Don't worry about what they did to Drew Brees and company. I'm throwing that game out. Nate, I'm throwing that game out of the schedule.
Do your thing, Kay.
I'm
not mad at it.
Can't throw 2 out, though.
It never happened.
No, it's not 2. Don't do it again against
throw 2
Tampa
out.
Bay. How about Devin Singletary? 2 weeks ago, Singletary had his breakout game. He had 140 total yards and a touchdown against the Redskins. But the Bills got away from him last week. It was so frustrating. My mind was boggled. Just 8 carries. So I don't think that that's going to happen again. I don't. I think he's going to have a monster day because he has the Dolphins on the docket. Their defense has allowed more rushing yards per game in the league this season. It just makes sense. Keep starting guys against Miami. They're getting some wins, but they're still very generous. They're just like pre-gifting fantasy points just in time.
It doesn't matter if they win. They're giving up yards. That's all we care about in fantasy.
That's it. Brian Hill, I like. Devonta Freeman dealing with a foot injury. Hill picked up the slack last week. This was a guy that I told you to pick up on waivers. He racked up 71 total yards and a touchdown against a really tough Saints run defense. This week, it's the Panthers. They've allowed nearly 2 touchdowns a game to the running back position. That is the most in the NFL this season. So if you have Aaron Jones, Saquon Barkley, you can't play Chris Carson, scoop him up and play him. How about a wide receiver? Jamison Crowder?
Talk about it.
Okay, well,
Redskins rivalry game, I'm in.
I sneaky like Sam Darnold as an option if you need it and you're scraping, but this guy has emerged as Darnold's favorite target, racking up 80 or more yards and a touchdown in each of his last 2 games. Overall, he's at 80 or more yards in 4 of Darnold's 6 starts this season. Shrinks, wasn't it like what was supposed to happen week in, week out, the connection between these two?
14 targets in week 1. Remember, he played for the Redskins, offered a bigger deal for the Jets, going back to Washington this weekend.
A revenge game against Washington, that's right, and that suspect defense. If you can't play Devontae Adams, you can't play Tyler Lockett this week, put Crowder in your lineup.
Okay, I can guarantee you I'm having some Jameson this weekend. I'll tell you that. I'm in.
I'll have some
You haven't had
chowder.
any already? Like when you're behind normal schedule.
Who says I am?
Gerald Everett. Oh, but don't look at my cup and what's in there. Over the last 6 weeks, Jared Goff has been leaning on his tight end more and more. Shrakes, is this the thing? Because Gerald Everett is averaging 8.3 targets, 53.7 yards per game over that span.
No Cooks. They're eliminating Goff, going to Cup, and this has been the guy. Both him and Josh Reynolds got a lot of looks last week.
Do you feel like this offense is trustworthy? I know, and you were hard on them and what their offensive game plan was last week coming off a bye.
Terrible game plan, terrible execution last week. They needed against the Bears. I'd be weary against any Rams, but if you need someone, Gerald Everett's the guy.
The thing is, Kyle, I'm not as scared as the Bears defense as I once was.
No, listen, that's the big secret. Everyone wants to whine about Trubisky. The Bears defense has regressed, just like we feared it would, and they're pretty flat. They are.
They've been vulnerable to the tight end spot this year. They've allowed the 3rd most yards to the tight end position. So take a look at your plugins. Thank you so much for listening. Here's the top 5 fantasy values for Week 11. Like I said, Kyle Allen. I do like sneaky Sam Darnold, Devin Singletary, Brian Hill, Jamison Crowder, and tight end Gerald Everett. We've been talking a lot about last night's game. We've got highlights coming up, of course, on NFL Network right here on Good Morning Football. But I do want to show you guys one thing.
What do you
What's
got?
up?
Well, you just haven't gotten to it because we've been talking about other parts of this game. There was a moment where they showed this guy on the sideline. Oh, is this it?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Joe Buck's calling the game beautifully, and he goes, and here's Big Ben on the sideline, and then he pauses and goes, at least I think that's Big Ben, and then Aikman just laughs. Look, Ben's living a good life. Looks like Grizzly Man. Remember Grizzly Man? It didn't end well. I hope it ends better for Ben.
He looks like Ron Burgundy when he lost his job.
Yes!
Milk's
Need some milk.
a bad choice.
Lady in the red dress.
I think they were unnecessarily harsh on him. I think us midseason kind of looks like that. That speaks to what what our vibe is.
That's facts.
Have to weigh in.
That's facts. I'm wearing Spanx right now, okay? That says it all.
All right, we've got much more here on